Welcome to our very first devlog video. Today we're excited to share something big. We started porting our indie game Project Saki from Unity over to Godot. We were lucky to make this decision early in development, so the switch wasn't as painful as it could have been. All of our sprites and tile maps for the tutorial section already existed, so we didn't have to redo any art. Instead, the real challenge came from learning how to recreate everything inside a brand new game engine. Setting up physics and collision, figuring out animation tools, and rewriting our scripts using the Godot language. Before diving into the process, we wanted to briefly mention why we chose Godot. Godot is completely open source, lightweight, flexible, and free. No licensing fees, no set and change to terms, and total freedom over how we ship and structure our game. For an indie team like us, that felt incredibly important. The first thing I did was download Godot and start watching tutorials. And I immediately ran into a hurdle. A lot of the tutorials available were slightly outdated. I'm on Godot 4.5.1, and even though many videos used Godot 4, the interface and options had changed just enough to be confusing. So I spent a lot of time researching outside the videos and figuring things out through documentation, trial, and error. One of the earliest problems I ran into was with animation. For the longest time, whenever the character moved, the entire sprite would disappear. All the animations were created correctly, but nothing would render during movement. Eventually, I realized I needed to rebuild the animation resources and reassign everything inside the animation tree. Once I did that, the walking animation finally worked. But of course, fixing one issue revealed another. The idle animation stopped working. After a long stretch of experimenting, I discovered that the walking BlendSpace2D needed to be set to discrete. Once I changed that, both the walking and idle animations finally started behaving the way intended. Then there was the animation speed issue. Inside Animated Sprite 2D, the speed looked perfect, but inside Animation Player, it played ridiculously fast, like Saki was vibrating across the map. Eventually, I figured out that the frames needed to be spaced out correctly on the Animation Player timeline, and the animation length needed to be set properly. After adjusting that, the animation speed finally matched what I originally created. Another thing I wanted to fix was how the idle animation behaved. After moving around, Saki would always snap back to the front idle animation, even if she stopped while facing sideways or backwards. To fix this, I wrote a small script to track the player's last movement direction and use that to determine which idle animation to play. Now, Saki stays facing the direction you last walked, which feels much more natural. With movement and animation finally working the way we wanted, the next step was to rebuild the dojo so Saki had an actual environment instead of walking around in an empty void. I created a tile map layer, made a tile set using all of the dojo tiles, the floors, walls, ceiling borders, and everything, and redrew the dojo to match our Unity version. And with that, Saki had a place to explore again. This wraps up our first devlog. Next, I'll be working on diagonal movement so the controls feel smoother and more natural. I'll also be adding more assets to the dojo so the environment feels full again, and I'll set up collision so Saki can't walk through the walls or outside the dojo borders. Thank you so much for watching our first devlog. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us to stay updated on our journey as we continue rebuilding Saki inside Godot.